Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Guapish Rule 34. As always, I'm your host, Jackson, and I am, of course, joined by two lovely guests this episode, that being Nico.
Hey guys, I just found about these things called nuclear bombs. Like, I watched Oppenheimer. I thought they were just like something they made up for the film, but no, they're actually real, and the government actually has them. I really hope that they bring this up on the next presidential debates, because quite frankly, right now, I'm scared.
Beautifully said, and we also have our second special guest, that being Tanner.
Dude, that's crazy. I also just learned that the Vietnam War is a real thing that wasn't made up for, some really kick-ass movies. Kind of a bummer, if I'm being honest.
True. My granddad fell in one of those spike traps and brutally died, unfortunately. That's a vibe. No, he did serve in Vietnam, though. I don't think he fell in one of those things, so I'd assume he didn't.
When you said he fell into one of them, I thought you said he fell in love with one of them.
Yeah, no, it was a really majestic-looking spike pit, and he just, he couldn't help himself.
What do you think are the odds your grandfather used, like, one of those Vietnamese prostitutes while he was there?
I think every woman in Vietnam was a prostitute during that time. Not by choice, of course. And realistically, I'm gonna hope not, but,
I feel like we just lost our Vietnamese audience.
And that they were all we had.
Yeah. Jesus.
I had my great uncle Ron. He served in Vietnam, and I remember his big story was he once got shot by one of those phosphorus shell shotgun rounds, and he really lucked out by falling into a rice field, which smothered the flame fast enough that they were able to save his life.
There you go. If it weren't for rice, you wouldn't be here today.
Mm-hmm. And that's why every single day he eats a big old bowl of Uncle Ben's. Dude, you know something fucked up I learned recently?
They got rid of Uncle Ben. They took him out to pasture.
No, not yet. But they did get rid of Mrs. Good? What the fuck is her name? Mrs. Buttersworth?
I don't think it was her, but yeah, I do recall hearing about, the pancake lady or whatever. She got removed.
Yeah, so they got rid of her, and what's, because it's racist or something, what's funny about that is apparently, this whole time, the company has been, continually paying royalties to, her descendants for use of her image.
Mm.
And now that they got canceled into not using it anymore, they're not paying those people anymore. So, literally, they canceled this, the black woman's image for racism, and now there is a black family who's actively not being paid because of it.
Well, maybe her lineage has gotten whitewashed at this point.
Yeah, maybe. All those white people trying to get in on the Mrs. Butterworth fortune.
Yeah.
If I marry this old black maid, she's got that syrup money, bro. Is there any food that seems less pleasant to engage in sexual relations with than syrup?
Vegemite.
Fish.
Okay, that's fair enough. I guess, yeah, at least syrup is sweet.
Let's go with pig's blood. That doesn't sound very pleasant.
Do we want to talk about the Pokemon leaks at this point, or is this old news already?
Dude, I want to talk about the Pokemon leaks. Guys, have you heard about the Pokemon leaks yet? Tanner, what do you know about them?
The one, what's that one guy called? Typhlosion?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a pedophile or something, I think.
My man!
I only know what I've gathered from memes.
There you go. Yeah, so basically, Jackson, do you just want to summarize what exactly happened here with the leaks?
The big thing is I don't really know the full breadth of what actually fully happened. From what I'm aware, it was just a bunch of concept design stuff. We didn't get any leaks of new Pokemon content or anything, but it's just a big, I guess, backlog of concepts and old lore stuff that they're maybe planning on doing at some point with some of the older games. World building and stuff, we learned how the Pokemon world was introduced and created through RCS and all that shit in a lot of detail. We got some more lore pieces like what Tanner was alluding to in the case of Typhlosion, kidnapping, raping, and impregnating a human, presumably. There's also a Slacking did that to some other fucker too.
Yeah, there's some shit with, like, Octillery as well, but, like, you know, the people are wildly blowing out of proportion.
How many turns do you think it took the Slacking to do that?
Like 4, I think. But you know, these things, they're more so just like sort of folklore, like fairy tale type things. It's not like the Game Freak designers or whatever the fuck were writing like hardcore porn or anything like that about these characters.
The big thing about it too is that they're also constantly talking about this is like going back to a different time where Pokemon and humans were a lot more closely linked to each other in the sense of like they're more like genetically they're a lot closer, kind of like I guess like very early on in evolution or something in the real world where things were a little bit more homogenous before they, you know, competition started fucking breeding it out and we were more different. I don't fucking know if that's even true, to be honest, but I think the idea is that they were a lot more homogenous at the start and then they slowly kind of like branched out into what we have today, is at least what they're trying to imply.
Is the implication there that humans fundamentally are Pokemon, or?
Yeah, I guess we're all come from the same seed.
This isn't even like a new idea introducing these leaks. Like in Gen 4, they have a library that has a bunch of books that basically just states the exact same thing. There are also books in there that talk about like a man marrying a Gardevoir or some shit like that as well. And it does also talk about in there like, yeah, at one point, Pokemon and humans were basically indistinguishable from one another. That's
great. I like the idea that these societies are becoming increasingly segregated in the Pokemon world.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. In addition to that, we have also, like Jackson stated, we have gotten like leaks of a bunch of like concept art for Pokemon in the past. We got like a bunch of beta designs and shit like that, and that's the stuff I really care about here, guys. That's the cool shit for me. Like honestly, like sure, it definitely does suck that like all this stuff got leaked out without Game Freak wanting it to be. But also, like, I love it when this kind of thing does happen because I just love seeing like all this concept art and stuff like that. Like I think that a big part of why, like particularly the Pokemon Company doesn't like reveal any of this kind of stuff is because oftentimes they will like go back to a bunch of like these previous designs and like try and iterate on them more in like future generations. Like we have seen like in the like these leaks and leaks in the past, we have seen like a bunch of like the old concepts like come back in new ways. Like in like some of the Gen 3 leaks, we saw there's like a beta version of Scraggy who comes out like several generations later and shit like that, which is pretty cool. I just love this shit, man. I love seeing the history of where these designs start, man.
Dude, can I see some of these beta leaks?
Dude, sure. Give me 1 second. I need to grab my phone because it's currently charging.
Holy shit. Oh, was it? Oh, man. So, I think I'm reading here part of the leaks were like full-on source code for some of the games?
Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So like, yeah, here's some of the like Gen 6 leaks. These are like some of the more recent ones. There's some pretty cool shit in here. They have like some fossil Pokemon designs that they showed off. The Gen 6 ones particularly are very impressive because like, you know, hand-drawn 2D art or whatever the fuck of like all these different designs, whereas like the rest of them are like actual sprites that are getting pulled from the games. They have like the beta version of like Mega Evolution concepts for like Charizard and Venusaur and shit like that in there, which I think is pretty cool to check out. Looks like they were going for a much more brutish design initially. And they also have like...
This cassowary one is fucking sick.
Right? I would have fucking loved having that over... What did we get that generation? Like... Tyrantrum or whatever? Fuck that. I don't want a T-Rex. I want a cool bird.
Dude, what the hell is this gorilla with boxing gloves?
Yeah, and then we also have like the Gen 3 leaks as well. There's some fucking weird ones in there.
Yeah. Immediately, like... What's drawing my eye for weird stuff is, yeah, the gorilla with boxing gloves, this Yeti that has mouths on its feet, this Twister one, like, doesn't even make any fucking sense.
Yeah, we did get some cool information out of that. For example, we do see, like, a beta Skitty, which was, like, wildly different from its initial design. We did also see that initially the Flygon evolutionary line, it didn't start with Trapinch. It had like a totally different Pokemon, and Trapinch was just like some unrelated thing that they threw in there instead.
I'm seeing a blue Grovyle.
Yeah, so from the looks of that, from what like people have seen from the code of the game itself, that just was another Pokemon that's completely unrelated to the Trico line that they ended up like repurposing to become Grovyle later.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What the... So, like, from the Grovyle, if you go up 1 and to the right 2, what the fuck is going on there?
Oh, this fucking like little lizard thing?
The yellow one that's big smiley.
Oh, that thing. Oh, okay, yeah. I have no fucking idea what that thing is. To be honest, I haven't noticed that one before. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, I don't like that one much at all.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Kind of like the peacock one.
Yeah, I don't think we actually have a peacock Pokemon yet either, which is pretty surprising.
Yeah. This alternate evolution for Spheal is, it's... I don't even know what word I can use to capture this thing.
Oh yeah, so a fascinating thing about Spheal is that apparently what we learned is that Spheal's supposed to be a bowling ball, is like what its design is meant to evoke. Because like one of the other designs in here is like this chicken that looks like a bowling pin. And so it's like, oh yeah, Spheal, they just like knock over these things, I guess.
Okay.
Which is pretty silly. But yeah, definitely a lot of cool ass shit in there. I'm big hyped for all that stuff. Also, we did actually get some leaks as like what the future generations are going to be, as well as like future projects that Game Freak is working on, I guess. Like there's going to be some sort of like the next generation is supposed to be like a big open world one. It sounds like we're going to be getting another Pokemon Stadium sort of game. Oh yeah, we also know what like the theme for the next generation is. It's Greece. That's going to be crazy, guys. That's going to be wacko.
How are they gonna make a game out of, like, grease, dude? That's the type of shit you pour down your fucking kitchen drain.
No, Jackson, it's like the, it's that play, you know, the musical. It's about, like, the
Greasers
or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the Greasers. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. I think
We already have an America
cool.
one, but, you know, it could be silly.
Do you think they're gonna, like, have a Pokemon for each of the Greek gods or some shit?
Probably. I mean, there are a fuckload of Greek gods, so we'll see how far they end up stretching that, but I'd assume that they'll have something to evoke, like, you know, the basic, like, 12 Olympians at the very least.
Yeah. And, you know, a Hercules one, a Hydra, you know, give us a fucking Pokemon that just looks like a Spartan. Like, it doesn't even look like a Pokemon.
It's just a man.
Yeah. He's, like, weirdly colored or something, so it's like, yeah, that's a Pokemon. It's like, he's got a sword and shield. It's like, yeah.
His skin's orange, though.
He's wearing a helmet. That's just, you know, part of him, I guess. Shut up. Okay. He can speak in full English sentences. Yeah, well, some other Pokemon can do that sometimes.
So I think that's about it for the Pokemon leaks at the moment. But Tanner, question for you. What Pokemon would you like most to leak on you?
Funnily enough, I think I'd actually prefer Haturn to leak on me.
Yeah, like Hatterene?
Whatever.
That one?
Yes, Hatterene.
Okay. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I think Gardevoir is a bit too dignified to leak on me.
A little too prim and proper, I suppose. Okay, Tanner, so you've had your big operation that's been underway for about a year or so now. Can we get an update on it? How's it been going thus far?
A year and a half now, I declared that, you know, we, the Zoomers, were going to reclaim the word retard. And I think we're pretty damn close to it, guys. It pretty much everyone on the internet is totally fine with using it now. I use it frequently in public and no one gives a fuck.
Flippantly, one may say.
Flippantly, one would say. I think Donald Trump called Kamala a retard, like, recently in an interview or something, so, like, honestly, I think if he wins and then, you know, he goes up and does his acceptance speech and he calls her a retard, like, on live television, we'll have, like, fully won this battle. Literally last week, when I, like, right after I wrote down this topic, I saw multiple, like, news articles written about, like, how this is happening, that retard is making a big comeback. Which, I was just tickled pink over.
I'm happy to hear that your operation has been a rousing success. I feel like you can put this one on your resume. I think that'll impress a lot of future employers.
Yeah, I took back retard, and they're like, that was you? Thanks, man.
I use it all the time.
Yeah. I remembered growing up in the 90s, and it was my favorite word, and I've been jonesing for it ever since then.
Alright, now, I have a hypothetical here for you, Tanner. I would just like to throw your way here, pitch to you as it were. So, let's say that you decide to get back into Smash Bros, alright? You decide to go real hard into it, you want to get high into the competitive scene, you really just go crazy for your DDD and such, you're really grinding it out, you spend hours on it, you finally go to your very first locals for Smash Bros. You're pumped for it, you've got your custom-made Switch controller in hand, and as you're lining up to go into your very first match, you sit down, and who's to sit down next to you as your opponent but Kanye West? Tanner, do you give him the match, or do you fight your hardest to beat Kanye in Smash Bros?
Dude, why the fuck would I give him a match? Of course I'm going to try and beat Kanye at Smash Brothers.
Dude, the man is very obviously not in the greatest mental state. I fear of what he may do if you push him over the edge here.
Dude, like, I don't care.
What if you...
If he has weak mental, that's his problem, you know? I want to be the guy who beat Kanye.
Yeah, what if you beat him and then he immediately blows his brains out right in front of you?
That'd be pretty tragic and unexpected, but... Again, like, that's just putting me in the history books, you know? I get to come out on a posthumous diss track by some guy who hated him.
Yeah, 10 years after the fact, we're watching the Kanye documentary, and it gets to the part, and then Kanye went into the Smash Bros. Locals, and he faced off against his greatest foe yet, Tanner Nikolai.
Yeah, Mr. T. Yeah, you know, I don't know anything about rap beefs, but, you know, I don't... Does Kanye have enemies? Who's someone who hates Kanye?
Everyone.
Okay, everyone makes, like, a diss track of him, like, after he's dead. Like, just, you know, really pouring salt in the wound of being dead. And, I'm sure some guy will write a lyric about me, and I'll be in the music video like, yeah, I fucking killed him!
And then Tanner Nikolai made you want to die!
They'll write one line for me.
Yeah.
I'll call him a faggot or something.
Ooh.
That's the next operation, by the way. We're bringing back faggot.
What? I feel like that one might be a bridge too far here. There's too much pain associated with that word.
That one will definitely be more difficult, but in Trump's America, I think we can do it.
Anything's possible.
You guys see the fucking SpaceX chopstick thing?
No.
You mean like where they caught the ship
Yeah.
that came down? Very neat, very neat. People are glazing the fuck out of Elon for like he contributed to it. Those engineers are popping up, dude.
Dude, I'm sure he had something to do with it.
He's too busy jumping around at Trump rallies, unfortunately.
That's true. Hold on, Nico, I'm gonna send you this thing so you can watch it real quick.
Oh boy, I get to give my live reenaction of the event.
Yeah, please describe everything as it's happening.
Alright, so I have a 15-second ad about Tobias Reed. He's hanging out with some kindergartners. He wants to become the government, apparently.
He wants to become the government.
Okay, here we go. Let's check it out. So, a ship is on fire at the moment. It seems to be burning. It's coming down from space. People are screaming in the background. It's slowly being inserted into some long spherical
I feel like
tube.
his depth perception is really hindering him here.
Okay, and now some random news lady is talking about some shit. It's looking like it was a success.
Okay. Yeah, that shit's fucking cool. It got me pretty pumped about space travel, so...
Yeah?
Big ups to SpaceX for figuring that out.
Do you think you'd prefer to go on a trip to space or go to a concert?
I'd rather go to space. What?
You're saying that your very first concert was not a rousing experience, one that made you want to just like go to more concerts in the future, even more than going to space itself?
I mean, I had a fun time. I'm definitely open to going to future concerts. But yeah, I go to space over going to a concert. What the fuck are you talking about?
I think it's just too dangerous, man. And like, what are you gonna do up there? Like, float around? You can do that on Earth.
I can't float around on Earth, actually.
Have you ever gone to a swimming pool and just like dove underwater?
That's not floating, though. That's like either sinking or, you know, bobbing. Anyway. Yeah, I went to my first concert.
Holy shit!
It was Judas Priest and Sabaton, and because I'm a silly little idiot, I thought Sabaton was the headliner. Just because, like, I know that at their peak, Judas Priest was obviously drastically more popular, but I was, like, certainly, you know, in the year 2024, Sabaton is more popular, but, and that's just because I was assuming, I guess, that bands, like, age out of their fame. Apparently that's not the case at all, and,
Oh, absolutely not.
Sabaton was the opening act, which worked out pretty fine because, my dad and I just watched Sabaton and then left, so.
I thought your dad was pumped to see Judas Priest, though.
He doesn't care.
Oh, okay. When I talked to him when he was here, he was like, "Oh yeah, Judas Priest, I got excited."
Yeah, that was him messing with you.
Oh, okay.
So you fell for it.
Damn. Your dad's a wacky guy. Does he still watch every episode of the podcast?
I don't know if he watches any episodes of the podcast. He thinks they're too long.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. They played, you know, they played the hits. Not the hits, but they played a lot of their really, really famous songs. Of course, I also don't have a great grasp on what their, like, hits are, because I love all of their songs, but, what they did was basically, they did, like, 2 songs each from their 4 most recent albums, and then 1 song each from their 4 less recent albums, which I think is a great way for, like, a concert band to, like, shuffle their discography up.
And for, like, an opening act, that sounds like a lot of songs, too. I was expecting to get, like, 4 of them.
No, it was 12 songs. It was about an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Like, that's a solid amount for an opening act.
I wouldn't know. I was like,
I also wouldn't know, quite frankly. I've never been to
true,
a concert.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I was like, has he been to a concert before so he would know if this is a long time? But, yeah, to my knowledge, neither of you guys have been to a concert before, so if you were to go to a concert, who would you want it to be for?
Well, you know, I operate under the same idea for concerts as I do for just, like, meeting celebrities and stuff like that, which I just think you shouldn't meet your heroes. I think that, like, you know, with, like, the whole studio process and everything, the songs are always going to sound much better than they will live, and that you just shouldn't tempt fate. I think that you'll taint the idea of the songs if you go and see them live.
I think Nico's a retard. I think there's plenty of artists that I would want to see live. One of the big
You
ones...
listen to fucking Vocaloid and shit, Jackson. They're just gonna be playing the same song you've always been listening to just over the stereo with some holographic woman dancing in front of you.
Vocaloid is like maybe 5% of what I listen to. Please shut the fuck up if you don't know what you're talking about. One of the more recent ones I want to go to is Otto. She actually came to Portland recently and did a show there, and I'm kind of sad that I missed that. Or I think she went to Portland. Maybe it was in Seattle. It was one of those two. It's some fucking place near us. But she's really good. She's got crazy vocal range, and I've watched a lot of her live performances. And she sounds just as good live as she does in, like, a studio setting, if not better, because there's just so much more they can do with her own live. It's a fun time. I think Zutamayo would be cool too, because they just have such funky and fun instrumentals. I think it'd be a romp to go and watch them live. Another one, fucking UK Rampage, one of my bigger, like, instrumental bands. I literally stayed up till like 4 in the morning because they were doing a live show and they were streaming it on YouTube, and I watched that shit and it was badass. I want to see that live too. I think that'd be cool as fuck.
Yeah, to your point, Nico, I would say, like, it's 2 different experiences, like, listening to them live and listening to it, like, you know, on your phone or whatever. Like, I agree that their music sounds better, like, as a studio production, but it's still really cool seeing them in person. It's like a different thing entirely, almost.
Dude, I'm sorry. I watched America's Got Talent at one point, and for, like, one of the pre-show things on there, they had Imagine Dragons, you know, do a little song for them, and it sounded awful. It was just terrible, man. I couldn't.
Sounds awful normally.
You should listen to people that don't have insane auto-tune with every single one of their produced pieces of content.
Says the guy who named UK Rampage as one of the bands he wants to go see. I've never listened to them personally. I don't know how true that statement is, but...
It's almost certainly not. UK Rampage to me screams punk, which means no production at all.
Unfortunately, their UK Rampage in name alone, they're actually a Japanese band, Tanner.
It is a Japanese band, and they do, like, rock and I don't know, they're very experimental. It's cool. But yeah, they definitely don't have like auto-tuned lyrics and shit. The artist, the fucking singer for all their songs on live performance had the exact fucking same as she does in all of their music videos.
That's cool. I will say the singer specifically does sound the most accurate to their like studio stuff, but it's also not hard because for Sabaton their singer is just, you know, deep voiced man voice, so they don't really have to screw around with that much.
The big part about concerts too is that you get really caught up. I haven't been to a concert, of course, but I assume you get really caught up in like the vibes of the venue. You know, it's like part of like an experience. You know, everyone else is like really pumped. There'll be like special moments where people will, you know, like go like do specific things for different parts of the songs. I think it's cool. I think it's just like a fun experience, regardless of just, you're not going there just like listen to music like you would like just any other time. You're going for like the experience of it all, which is would far outweigh even the minutia of difference in how they present themselves.
Yeah. What was interesting was we had a very like diverse crowd. I mean, they were all white, but otherwise very diverse crowd, because like Sabaton is a more like younger, recent-ish band that does like songs about military history. And then Judas Priest is an older metal band with like a very openly gay frontman. And so we had like military bros and then like, you know, metalheads and then older guys that like Judas Priest from the olden days. So just people of all kinds of different ages and stuff. And I'd say there were a lot more women there than you would expect. Let me put it that way. And people there with their kids and shit, which I thought was interesting because it was loud as fuck in there.
They want to give them tinnitus young.
There you go.
Allow them to just live with it, you know? They'll get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Tanner, do you have tinnitus?
I mean, I do listen to my music very loud, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like normally you know if you have tinnitus, given there's a constant ringing in your ears. Or not, at the very least not constant, but it's like it's intermittent in areas where you wouldn't. Like if you're like sitting quietly and your ears start ringing, you have it. It's just mild.
I don't think so. Of course, like, do you just get used to it, you know?
No.
Like, okay, well...
I mean, like, you can get better at kind of, like, tuning it out over time, but it never goes away. It's always there. Like, the second you slip up for a moment, there it goes back, and it only gets worse over time, of course.
I do often feel like I can hear electronics, so that might just be tinnitus.
I think you're just going insane.
Yeah.
True.
So speaking of subjecting your kids to horrible things, what do you guys feel like are some like just like subject matter that you just like really can't handle, that you just don't jive with, and that like if it comes up you're like, okay, I know that like this isn't for me or something like that?
Do you have an example to like jog my thoughts?
Yeah, sure thing. So for me, it's like mass shootings are real rough for me. So like, as I've stated many times before, I listen to true crime podcasts while I work, you see. And like the channel that I tend to watch for it, they've occasionally done like mass shooting episodes, and I just can't fucking do those ones. Because it's too much like fucking tragedy and just wanton destruction, just like back to back, just endlessly. It's very depressing, and it just puts me in a real sour mood, and I can't handle it.
I can't really think of anything like that where, like, when it's, like, a certain topic that if it comes on to, you know, like, a podcast I listen to, I just need to, like, turn it off or anything. I think it might just be I'm such a naturally curious person that even stuff I find disgusting I'll just listen to anyway.
Okay.
I really can't think of anything like that. Like, I mean, I've even said in the past, like, relating to your thing, I'm like, I want to find, like, a really in-depth documentary about the Columbine shooters. I just want to know what's going on with those guys. Yeah, I don't... Because I'm trying to think of, like, what are the most horrible things? I'm like, child rape? I'm like, I can listen to people talk about child rape. I mean, like, it can be hard to listen to, but I'm never like, dude, I gotta turn this off. You remember, I assume you saw this as well as me, Nico. Do you remember that, this was back in the church days. I think that it wasn't a missionary, but it was like a representative of the International Justice Mission, and they played this documentary for us called Arroyo, which is howl in Spanish, and it was about, like, how there are like no child rape laws in Argentina.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That shit fucked me up. But I could, I could still watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any examples personally. I don't think anything really fears me. But also, I grew up watching people kill themselves and die in horrible ways on the internet, so you know.
That's fair enough.
I guess you're just a pussy, Nico.
I guess so. Or maybe it might also just be because like how it gets framed in that like particular podcast, because what they always like to do is they like to like really remember like the victims and stuff like that. So it's like every fucking time someone comes up who gets killed, he gives like a little like sort of like a summary of like their life up until that point or whatever. And so it's just like, wow, yeah, this is like a person who had their own whole thing going on, they just fucking died. That's tragic.
Does that feel like honoring their memory?
I think so.
It seems kind of fucked up to me. I don't know. I thought you were about to say, like, every time, he talks about one of the victims, they'll have audio clips of their last moments, and they'll just play that on repeat.
That'd be horrifically
like, really
fucked.
Dude, that'd be so... But also, like, there's absolutely that shit out there, because so many of these kids are, like, on their phones, calling their parents as they're brutally slaughtered. That's stuff I don't like hearing whenever there's, like, a mass shooting and then the news is like, we acquired this phone call from a student who got shot in the head. It's like, holy shit, Mom, I'm about to... And it's like, okay, why is this on... This is the local news. Why are we... We get it. He killed the kid. We don't need to listen to them. Jesus.
That's what the people are there for, though, dude. That's what gets the viewers up.
Have we talked about the debate over whether or not news stations should like share the names of these killers?
No, I don't think we have.
What's your guy? I need to stop like tossing it to both of you and letting you like figure out who speaks first. Nico, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, like, so I'll go like a degree further here as to just like publicizing.
They shouldn't mention school shootings at all.
No, So are you talking about like the victims or like the people who like actually do the shootings?
The people who did it.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't think there's usually a debate around releasing the names of the victims.
Yeah. So like, this is something I've heard like other countries do, which I think sounds like a pretty decent idea, which is that like they just don't publicize the names of like anyone who's like allegedly committed a crime until after they've been like proven to have done it, which I think is a pretty decent way of going about it. Especially in today's age of the internet, where it's like that shit can just like fucking spread if like an allegation is made, and like it goes to court and oh, they're found not guilty. But like, how many people are gonna know about the not guilty verdict and just be like, oh yeah, you're that dude who raped someone, right? And it's like, no, it's not true. So that's my stance personally. I feel like that's a pretty decent idea. Because I really don't see any downsides to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. Because one could potentially glorify, and two, kind of what Nico was saying, if it was like a false accusation or something, it could just smear their name for the rest of their life in the public eye, and I don't think that's fair.
I disagree with you guys. For one, like, I think the second we give news organizations the room to say, we don't think this information relating to like a major event should be made public, that very quickly leads to them just, censoring anything they want to. I don't think it's that the news's jobs to sort of filter information in that way for the public. I think they should just release all relevant information. I think who the person who perpetrated whatever deed is relevant.
Are you assuming that they don't already just like censor things and just like don't include things they don't want to?
No, I'm not assuming that. I'm saying that shouldn't be the case.
Okay.
Also, like, obviously, with the internet nowadays, someone's going to figure it out anyway and put it out. And so, like, do you really want it to be that the news is having, information, but not all of it? And then you have perhaps shadier sources of information who do have this legit information that the news haven't had. And so people are going to be like, well, they have more information, therefore they must be more right. Which I think is probably not great for society.
It's tricky, dude. It's tough, you know? Personally, I think instead of, like, you know, giving out the names of, like, the people who do these horrible things, maybe instead they should give them terrible titles, like, oh yeah, this big dumb crybaby who couldn't handle getting shoved into a locker one time committed this horrible act.
There you go. Antagonize them even further. Beyond the grave, even.
Yeah.
Damn. I just remember, what the fuck? There was that recent shooting where, like, the kid got taken alive, and I haven't heard anything about that since then.
Got taken alive? What do you mean by that?
Like, they arrested him.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Where was that? I can't remember.
I thought you were saying, like, someone showed up and just took them, and now we haven't heard back.
Yeah, they're missing.
Yeah.
They're out there somewhere. No, they it was a weird one, because they started shooting up a school, and then the second the police showed up, they surrendered. Which is not something these kids do usually. But I can't remember where that happened. Oh well, I'm sure that'll be an interesting story later.
Yeah, potentially if we ever get around to it. Watch next week's episode where we'll have an update for you. Oh, and speaking of updates, Jeff Keighley, Game Awards extraordinaire, friend of the channel, as you all may know. He has been doing the update work and just been, like, you know, running defense for Team Cherry, creators of Hollow Knight and upcoming Silksong. And just, like, every time there's any sort of, like, big gaming event that's happening where it's like, oh yeah, there are going to be all these announcements at this thing, Jeff Keighley is very quick to take to Twitter and be like, hey guys, just a heads up, Team Cherry's no announcements for Silksong at this event.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. It's unfortunate that Nico forgot every time you say the word Silksong, it gets delayed another day.
Yeah, Tanner, we know, dude.
That shit's never coming out.
It will, I believe in it, dude. I believe.
Wasn't the last time we talked about it because it was getting close to, like, the record of longest game development or some shit?
I don't think... There's no way it's anywhere close to longest game development yet.
We got Elder Scrolls 6, dude.
Yeah, think about Elder Scrolls 7.
I don't know how many years is Silksong development at now?
I'm not sure. I think that we got our first announcement 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas, like, you know, games like Duke Nukem took, like, I think 15 years to come out, so...
So I think they got a ways to go. What if they're like, what if they come out and they're like, we're intentionally trying to break this record?
Yeah, the game's been done for years now. We just want to sit on it for a while, you know?
Yeah, and then it comes out and there's like some game-breaking bug that like breaks your console, and you're like, damn, we gotta put this one back in the fryer.
Yeah, I'll pretty frequently see just like people get real upset with Team Cherry, the creators of Hollow Knight and Silksong, get real upset with like the lack of communication from the team, but at the same time it's like, I mean, I don't know, they're making the game. What do you want them to say? Hey, we're still working on it.
Those bugs are looking buggier than ever.
Like, I get some people are like frustrated, like the game isn't out yet, like they're really excited for the game, but well, when's it coming out? There's not really much you can do other than wait, though. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Would I like Hollow Knight?
Have you ever played a Metroidvania before?
I played Other M.
Okay.
I don't know if I even beat that one, to be honest.
I think I only got a couple hours into it and said, man, I hate the style of this game. Just the entire genre in general, I just can't jive with.
I can't think of any Metroidvania I've played, to be honest.
I think you'd like Hollow Knight then. I feel like it's a game you'd enjoy.
Yeah, I feel like you could enjoy it too. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's the Souls-like of Metroidvania.
Oh, and speaking of Souls-likes, I'm about ready to get my soul liked over on Guapish at the movies.
Guapish at the movies? Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin.
What were they possibly thinking with that?
I was gonna be so disappointed if you just were slack-jawed, being like, oh, I don't know what song we picked this week. Were there any notable songs from the silly movies that we watched?
Nah, I was ready for that one, dude.
There we go.
What did we watch this week?
The Patreon pick this week, as requested by Tutbot, thank you, was the 2011 film Rango. Which, Nico, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll give a little rundown of it. So, Rango and his brothers Morgan and Virgil have left their gunslinging ways behind them to settle down and start a business in the town of Dirt. While they aren't looking for it to find trouble, trouble soon finds them when they become targets of the ruthless cowboy gang. Now, together with Rango's best friend Doc Holliday, the brothers pick up their guns once more to restore order to this lawless land.
Yeah, that was more or less accurate. Fun fact, the voice actors wore Western costumes to get in character.
Oh, there we go. I feel like I did see some, like, behind-the-scenes stuff in, like, the commercials for Rango back in the day of, like, Johnny Depp being his wacky self in a cowboy costume.
I feel like Johnny Depp's voice does not sound like it would come out of his body.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about Rango for a second. Like, I just can't see this man coming out of this lizard here. Alright, so boys, how'd we feel about Rango?
I think it was okay. I think the idea behind it is okay. I don't really have a fucking ton to say about this movie, to be completely honest. I think the artistic direction is good. I think it looks really good for its time. It's 13 years old. I still think it looks great. I think some of the character designs are fun and silly. I think the plot structure is pretty generic. I don't like Rango as a character. I think it's really fucking annoying. I don't like the way they portray his character arc either, because there basically isn't one. I don't like the stupid forced romance. It's dumb. There's no progression. It all just coalesces in the end for no reason. I think it's a whatever film for me, personally. Comedy didn't land super well. It's whatever.
Summary there for you guys. Western animation. I can't stand it. Where's my anime?
Literally, if the main character was a 400-year-old vampire lolly with massive tits, maybe this movie would get higher than an F+ for me.
I like Rango. I think it's a fun take on Westerns. I would like to compare and then contrast it with Overlord.
Overlord?
Yeah. Where one of my big complaints with Overlord was the characters were very tropey, and it didn't really utilize tropiness in a way that makes sense to even have it in the movie. This film, on the other hand, has extremely tropey characters, but it very much makes sense because the entire point of the movie is to play with the tropes of Westerns and, either lean into or subvert them in fun and interesting ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed Rango quite a bit as well, because, this is a film that I think, didn't we all say we saw this as kids?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a film that, as a kid, I didn't really like, but I think it was just because it doesn't really feel like a kid's movie. Like, a lot of the humor and dialogue seems to be aimed more towards older audiences, and as a result, most of the jokes just, completely flew over my head upon my first watch all the way back then. It isn't to say, there's, some uber gritty and serious Western like Tombstone is. It just has a lot more fun about it than your average Joe just, trying to be a fucking play hero or whatever, And, some of the humor is still aimed towards kids, which is, my least favorite part of this film. We still have, those stereotypical scenes that happen where it's oh, fucking someone farts, or something funny happens when a character says, that was awkward, which I definitely could have done without. But, for the most part...
They literally said that.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god. To be fair, that wasn't a played-out thing yet in 2011.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was.
I feel like it was the height of being played out back then.
Well, true. Well, it was the height of being used, and then in retrospect, we were like, that was played out.
That was awkward, I think. Yeah, the characters are definitely fantastic in this film, as Tanner was saying. I was a big fan of them. There's an immaculate amount of detail it's put into the animation, great character designs all around. The lighting and textures are fantastic in this film. As Jackson was also saying, it's definitely still holds up to this day. There's also a shitload of guns and swearing in this movie, which is not something I entirely expected. And then just also characters just dying, just being murdered right in front of our eyes, characters fucking exploding, or that dude who got drowned and shit like that.
There is a lot more death in this film than you'd expect from a kids movie. I'll give it that. I think the snake design is pretty neat too. I think he's a fun guy. I don't particularly like the way they portrayed his character in the end, but I think his design is pretty sweet. He has a very intimidating feeling enemy.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Jake's presence is just like built up throughout the entire film. Like, he sounds like this really intimidating, menacing figure, and then it has that fantastic payoff where like his first confrontation with Rango just completely exposes him for the liar he is. Which unfortunately does mean that we do get a liar revealed trope in this film, which I could have also very much so done without. Like maybe if they were like, they expose Rango for the liar that he was, but like as he's walking away, like we have like the fucking lady or like the little mouse girl be like, "But Rango, you are a hero. Like you did all this cool shit." And he's like, "Nah, I don't know who I am. I'm sorry." And then he walks off. Like that could have been something different at the very least, but no, it was just your basic ass bullshit that I fucking despise. All right, so do we have anything else to say about Rango, guys?
No.
Okay.
I'm out of ideas.
Yeah, I liked it and it looks good.
Yeah, this is a good looking film. It's not for me. I wish if it was like so focused on Rango as a character, I wish they handled his character better. I think that was honestly the worst part of the movie for me. He was really fucking annoying and he had very little character progression.
I wholeheartely disagree on both of those points, Jackson. I think that Rango was a good character. I enjoyed him.
I think our subjective liking of a character valid. You can like a character. I didn't like him. I thought he was annoying. I didn't think his comedy was funny.
But like you saying, his character progression there was like nothing there. Like that's
yeah. This is Rango's character progression, right? He's a fucking weirdo whack job because he's some pet that's been locked up all his life. He gets thrown into some new world that he doesn't know anything about. He's then bumbling around, being fucking just handed W's constantly.
Dude, it's Mr. Magoo, but as a Western.
I don't care. From sheer dumb luck, he progresses literally nothing as a character until he gets called out for lying all this time. And then he gets some magical fucking fairy MacGuffin that tells him how to solve everyone's problem. And then that's it. And that's his character is just that he got called out and then he gets a MacGuffin and then nothing happens. And he gets the girl in the end. There was no progression for that either.
That's not it though, Jackson. That's not it. He does learn to be a real cowboy legend, dude. He stands up to Jake the Snake, dude. Like before we saw him try and stand up to it, he couldn't pull the trigger. He couldn't take the shot. But then we see him. He's willing to do it at the end of the film, man.
Yeah, I don't think that one scene buys anything for me or fixes any of the other problems with his character, personally.
This is exactly how I describe, like, Napoleon Dynamite, like, trying to be as dismissive and reductive as possible.
I can see where you guys are coming from, except for the character progression thing. I think that I don't understand that viewpoint at all. I think there's very little progression in it. Mostly just because even if I was to agree with Nico on that point, it all happens in just like one fell swoop, and I can't agree with that style of character progression.
Dude, this movie is all an allegory for gay conversion therapy.
Speaking of gay conversion therapy, let's hear what Dylan thought about it.
Alright, so this is going to be my review of Rango, and this is a movie I'd seen a couple of times. I remember being younger. I don't think I really appreciated this movie, at least, from, I guess you could say, a creative perspective. It has been a while since I've actually seen this movie, but I think that, I don't even know if the comedy in this movie lands necessarily. I don't feel like it had to, though. I liked how quippy that this movie was. You had kind of your cliche classic, like, cowboy banter where they were kind of showboating or like, just had these one-off lines or whatever that made no sense, just for the hell of it. Some of them, if you, again, because I didn't appreciate this movie when I was younger, some of them, the lines just don't mean anything, which adds, I guess, that little bit of humor to it. But, no, I think the animation style is very, like, creatively done. I think it looks very nice for the year it was released. I believe it was like 2011. And yeah, the animation just really, really good. Plot moved along pretty well. There's a bit where it gets to the middle, the end-ish part, where it slows down a little bit, which, I could give or take. But aside from that, just, characters we learn to care about. This is another one of those movies, a little side note. This is another one of those movies where it can just kill people off casually and not necessarily make a big deal out of it or really expand on it. And, you blink and you miss kind of thing where, like, one part that comes to mind is they're in the big wagon chase scene. And this guy's like, oh, is that all you got? And then the giant rock pillar collapses on top of him. Not a huge deal. I just think it's funny when movies do this kind of thing. But I think this movie was very charming. I think, like I said, the animation was very beautifully done. The voice acting was very good. And, aside from the plot having its weird pacing moments in the middle, the end part, I thought this was a fairly good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I gave Rango an A+.
Dude, I'm totally straight now.
Honestly, based takes from Dylan there. Speaking of based, his rating, A+ for Rango. Solid rating there, Dylan. Fantastic job. I'm going to follow that up with an A- personally. Jackson, what are you giving it?
I give it a B-.
Insane. You're a fucking psycho.
I think it's a good-looking movie. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about it. Some of the comedy was funny, but yeah, that's really all about it. I think it was pretty whatever otherwise.
This is the most you two have ever disagreed on a film.
You're probably right. This is easily the most I feel like we've skirmished during a review.
What about Dragon Ball Super Broly?
I don't know if you were really, fighting that hard about it.
I don't think I was. I still think you're a fucking psychopath for your rating on that. D+? Are you fucking crazy, Jackson? You piece of
based
shit.
as fuck for that rank.
He only likes anime with girls in it, Nico.
For sure. If Goku had big tits and was a 400-year-old dragon lolly, maybe I would have liked him more.
There was your rating, by the way. I don't think we heard it yet.
Yeah, I went and gave this movie a
Based.
Fun fact, Jackson's the only one who rated Rango lower than Tombstone.
I think Tombstone had a decent amount going for it. I want to watch Tombstone again. That was a relatively early movie, and I feel like I probably didn't give it as much of a shot. I think I mentioned it during the review, but I absolutely was not paying very much. I was not paying very much attention during that movie. I probably would like it a lot more on the second watch. I'm a
complete fucking liar. I just ranked Rango lower than Tombstone.
There we go. Immediate disapproval. Wait, okay, let me fucking go over the ranks again because I wasn't paying very much attention. Nico, you gave it an A. Tanner, you also gave it an A.
No, I gave it an A-.
Oh, you gave it an A-. Okay, there we go. That's why I confirmed. Don't give it an A+.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and that puts it at, shockingly, an A- overall.
Holy cow. Tied with Tombstone.
Whoa.
Here we go. They're basically the same movie.
Yeah.
Nico, did you do the bit? I wasn't paying attention, to be honest.
Yes, I did do the bit. My summary of Rango was just Tombstone, but I replaced Dr. fucking whatever's name with Rango. Whiter, that's his name.
Yeah.
Did Tanner notice I also wasn't paying attention?
No, I did notice.
There we go. I'm proud of you.
Didn't I comment on it?
Hey, that's just Tombstone. I don't fucking know. Replay.
No, I said very accurate or something like that. Anyway, what else did we watch?
Tanner, do you want to describe the plot of Dylan's pick of the week, that being the 1999 film Deep Blue Sea?
Oh, dude, deepest, bluest my hat is like a shark's fin. So Deep Blue Sea is about some Alzheimer's researchers who make sharks with big brains and then are just deeply shocked when having the big brains makes them smarter. And then during a hurricane, the sharks manage to destroy the facility, and they're trying to escape, but the people successfully kill all the sharks while also most of the people dying. Fun fact, the license plate they pull out of the one shark's mouth is the same license plate from Jaws.
Whoa.
And by same, I mean it has the same numbers and state. I don't think it was the same prop. But that'd be fun.
Yeah, they managed to track it down and reuse it. They bought it on auction, so at that point it's their legal right to be able to use it in whatever film they want.
True. Watching this for the first time in many years, I was shocked to discover just how much this film rips off Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Jurassic Park in this movie for some reason, including having Samuel L. Jackson in both of them. something that we even commented about while watching it was I appreciate how many of the people they're willing to kill, even some ones that you don't really expect to go.
Yeah, they just seem totally willing to murder literally everybody in this film. It was very strange. Like, by the end of the film, they just, like, kill the main love interest woman, and it's like, why'd they do that? Also, why did she give up herself and die like that? There was no reason for it. Why'd she jump in the water?
Dude, because fuck him, she thought it was the only way or something, and then they killed her off very unceremoniously after she accomplishes basically nothing over being just a common lure.
Yeah.
It was incredibly unceremonious. What were they trying to imply with that? Like, was the shark kind of like paused and like mean mugged, or was it like, mother? Or is that what we were supposed to...
I think it was just fucking with her. They mentioned before that the sharks were kind of just like toying with them because they knew they had like an overwhelming advantage. That's probably what they were doing.
True, yeah. I enjoy the little twist at the end where they're like, God damn it, these sharks have been like intentionally driving us to like flood different parts of the facility so that they could escape.
Yeah.
And they pretty intelligently hint at that with Samuel L. Jackson's first thing where it's like, what would sharks think about? And they're like, whatever. And then that comes back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
Literally. And then also the only other hint is when you have Mr. McMuscles or whatever his name is, and the shark very clearly could grab him, but it does like a feint and lets him get away through a door, and you're like, huh. I don't know if you guys even noticed that in the moment, but I went like, oh, okay, that's them sort of hinting at the sharks are like, okay, we gotta let this guy live so we can flood more of the laboratory.
No, I saw that and I was like, man, this is a bad movie.
Okay.
Understandable.
Which I think it is. I don't think this movie is particularly good at all. I have very little to say about it for the most part. It's just Jurassic Park but with sharks now. Furthering my hatred towards the original Jurassic Park, I'm lowering it again.
Yeah. I think what's funny for me is that the CG and practical effects, I guess, of this movie are so hit or miss. Like, I think some of the early segments are actually pretty good, and then some of the later ones just look fucking horrible. It's crazy, the contrast. But I guess for some pros, I actually do think this movie was a little scary. I'm not going to say I'm scared of water or anything, but I absolutely could see myself not like, actually in this fucking setting, but like, if I place myself in this setting, I'd be fucking shitting my pants. Anyways, to make a fucking long story short here, I think the setting was pretty good. I like the idea of it. It's a pretty novel concept, I feel, for the most part. It's taking a spin on something in an interesting way. I definitely expected it to be a lot more schlocky than it was, and it was pretty schlocky, but they played around the limitations they had a lot more. There was more like realism applied to it than I would have expected a movie like this to do. It still was, some like generic fucking sci-fi film with a little bit higher of a budget at the end of the day, but it had some good qualities. I think it's a little fun, rompy horror film. I do understand why what the fuck's the guy's name, I already forgot, was in the movie at all. He was like some weird comic relief for the entire thing. Very strange.
Oh, LL Cool J?
Yeah, LL Cool J. Very strange. And he's one of the fuckers that lived till the end for some reason. Yeah. He got mauled by a shark and somehow didn't immediately bleed to death. I don't know how the fuck he got the strength to swim back on the shore. Crazy.
And he killed 2 out of 3 of them, dude.
Yeah, I do think my favorite scene of the movie involved him, though, and is when he hit himself in the oven, and then the shark turned the fucking oven on. That was, like, the only scene that actually, like, made me tense up. I was like, oh my god, am I gonna watch a guy get fucking roasted alive in a fucking oven? That was horrifying. And then he axed his way out, which was pretty stupid. Why the fuck was there? Why did he have, like, an axe or something? But, it's whatever.
Yeah, I literally had written down effects are hit or miss, so I very much agree. And also, it's not even consistent where it's like, oh, when they're above water they look bad, or when they're underwater they look bad, or blah blah blah. It's like sometimes they look good above water, sometimes they look bad, sometimes they look good underwater, sometimes they look bad. It's like it seems completely random when the shark, and it's even like. Sometimes the CG sharks look fine, and sometimes they look bad, and then sometimes the puppet sharks look good, and sometimes they look bad. There's, like, no consistency at all where or what medium looks good at any given time.
And also, by the way, like, the fucking plot for this movie is also, we've said it before, I'm gonna say it again, contrived. This shit is fucking stupid, dude. Like, when they get the shark to fucking throw the dude who's on the metal bed into the glass to shatter it, how does it shatter that easily? How's the shark able to get enough momentum to throw him?
That shark, in fairness to the movie, that shark was shown to be hauling some fucking ass. It was moving.
It didn't look
It
like
looked
the
like it was moving
guy
pretty
was
fast.
moving that fast.
I don't think it would have been fast enough to throw the guy through that glass. That glass is probably insanely strong.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that should have ever happened. I'm not disagreeing on that, but that shark was fucking schmoving, dude. I could see where they're going for it there, I guess.
I see the vision. I agree with it, but like
I could suspend my disbelief.
Yeah, I also like to not counter, but like to put myself in contrast with Nico.
Why is like the entire building made of explosives? By the way, what's up with that?
That's
Contingency.
Yeah. They should have gasoline littered everywhere.
Yeah, I think that I have fun with this movie. I agree. It's not great by most objective measurements, but like I just have a really fun time with it, you know.
Yeah. One may even go as far as to say it's so bad it's good.
It certainly does not take itself very seriously. This is also this is a very conflicting movie for me, though. It's like I'm looking at my rankings here. My horror movie rankings are kind of wild. I probably need to do some shuffling around here, and I don't know what the fuck to rank this shit.
Well, we're gonna find out what you're gonna be ranking this shit after you hear what God damn it, Dylan has to say about it.
Alright, so this is going to be my review of Deep Blue Sea, and this might be laced with some nostalgia trip moments, but yeah, no, I remember watching this movie all the time when I was a kid. For a movie from 1999, I think it aged very well, at least for my own personal opinion. Again, that could be the nostalgia talking. I think the acting was great. I think the setting was, I mean, what else are you gonna do for a shark movie? I've seen plenty of other ones that are just either terrible intentionally or not intentionally. I thought the plot was, I don't really know how to describe it. It was very compelling, though, just the way that everything was set up. There were hardly any contrivances. There were a few here and there. I'm not gonna say this movie was perfect in its plot, but there weren't just things that happened just because. Most things happened for a somewhat predictable reason, and I think I don't really know what like the pacing of a good horror thriller movie should be, as far as in this regards to people dying, I guess. But it at least was to the point where people were dying, and it wasn't just kind of like, oh, whatever, except for maybe a few people at the beginning. But I feel like you were able to understand some of the characters and like connect with them, and they had character before they died, so their death actually meant something. But yeah, I feel like the pacing in this movie was well done, aside from like I don't know how the whole deaths part worked, but I suppose it isn't entirely important. The only other thing that I would say with this movie is, the effects were kind of bad. And being a film from 1999, it wasn't too awfully terrible. I think it's fine. I think one thing this movie does really well is, at least in its live action shots where everything's like flooding and they're actually in like the tunnel areas, they've got that aesthetic going for them. I think they pulled off the environment and the settings very well. But again, this could just be the nostalgia talking. But regardless, I gave Deep Blue Sea an A-.
He liked it.
Dude.
What can we say? The man likes what he likes.
Deepest bluest my hat is like a shark. Does that song impact your ranking at all, Nico?
No.
Damn.
If it played like, at any point other than the credits, then perhaps, but...
What do you mean? Fucking, that one song that played over the credits, won Eminem an Oscar. Surely we should count that shit too.
But you had disagreements as to whether or not that should have counted towards the Oscar.
Facts, dude. But this song. What if we found out this song won an Oscar?
Oh, there we go. What What if we found out that LL Cool J wrote this song entirely independent of the film, and this song just inspired the movie?
That'd be awesome. I'd love that. That'd be my favorite. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's.
And speaking of this deep blue film, Dylan gave it an A-. Jackson, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a flat C, I guess.
I'm also giving it a flat C. Tanner, how about you? You giving it like anything higher than a B? Are you a crazy person?
Dude, that's crazy you would say that. I was literally thinking a B.
It's not higher than a B, I suppose, so you ain't crazy yet.
Our prices are insane!
And that landed at a B- overall.
Wow.
Whoa.
Maybe a little high, but you know, we take what we can get, I suppose. The
That's
last
our
movie.
final film.
You fucker! It's my movie. Why are you trying to intro it?
I was just segueing.
I always segue. My pick of the week, of course, the final film we watched this one, was 1992, the Waxwork 2, Lost in Time. This is a sequel to the So Bad It's Good movie we watched back in the day, one of our earlier picks. This one, unfortunately, does not live up to the hype. We've got literally a direct sequel to the first one, where we're just watching the events. You know, like you could stitch the movie together and it would make sense chronologically. But they're trying to just I guess, what the fuck's the word? I'm thinking expunge, but I don't think that's the word. Just like, I guess, prove the innocence of the girl that's being framed, I guess, by a disembodied hand for the murder of her uncle. And they do this by going back in time to try to gather evidence of the supernatural so they can, you know, prove their court case. And there's some, like, time war bullshit hosted by God and the devil or something going on. Some crazy subplot. It gets real in the weeds of some stupidity here.
Fun fact, Sarah was rich in the first one, so... Which really just, like, is kind of emblematic of this film, because they, like, don't give a fuck at all about what happened in the first one. Like you said, it's a direct continuation chronologically, which is correct. In any other way, it is not a continuation whatsoever.
Oh man, it looks like after we burned down the wax museum, we went to an alternate timeline where you're poor now.
Yeah.
The woman's literally just a different actor, too, from the first movie, which is very strange. I was like, who the fuck is this chick? I had no recollection of her, which makes sense.
Fun fact. That's because the director was dating the previous chick, and they broke up in between the movies. So they.
That's a great fun fact.
That's a better fact. Why didn't you go with that one initially?
Dude, because I knew I was going to be able to segue into that one as well.
Oh, okay.
And even more to that, like, you know, the end of the last one sets up the hand, and the hand, like, has like the least possible to do with the plot of this movie imaginable.
It's what kicks off the entire plot.
It's yeah, but like they could set that up in any number of ways. It's a very like it's
a red herring. They make it seem like it's going to be a lot more important than it was, because it was also the front runner of the first movie, and then it was the only monster that survived at the end of the first movie, and then they make a point of showing you that, and then the first movie intros with the hand again. It makes you think it's going to be a part of the larger plot, even though, you know, it's just a disembodied hand, but it's not. It just, I guess technically it kicks off the whole point of the movie by getting her uncle thrown to jail, but like, they could have done that in so many other ways. They could have just been like, wanted to go check it out because her uncle left the dude the key to that room or something anyways, just for the fun of it. But no, they have to do some like weird court case thing. It's strange.
It's to add a little stakes, you know. I will say I can't remember exactly, but I feel like we definitely had like some questions as to whether or not the first film was like really trying to take itself seriously, or if it was like leaning way more into like the silliness of it or whatever. But like this film, it just goes full on, no, this is not like actually a horror movie at all. It's just like, you know, it's a little romp is all it really is. Because like outside of like a couple of scenes, there really isn't anything to be like scary or like really very gory or anything at all. It's like the hand gets fucking blended up, but explodes in like a fountain of blood. But like that's not scary at all, really. Like the only scene I can really point to off the top of my head. Okay, actually, there's another one, but like there's the scene where like Frankenstein just crushes that guy's skull. And there's also the scene where like the woman is like having some fucking seance or some shit performed on her, and she's like turned into a wolf woman or some shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's about it though.
Yeah, she's turning like a panther
woman
or some shit. The main word that comes to my mind when watching this film is confusing. It's like the setup for why they are traveling through time is weird. The way the time travel works is fucking weird.
Yeah.
The places they go are fucking weird. I think the sets are pretty solid, and nah, I wouldn't say the costume work is that great. The sets are good though.
I feel like the effect that, like, you know, fucking Ash's rib cage was exposed looked decent.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked the Bruce Campbell thing. I think it gets way too slow, especially like when they get separated. That shit takes fucking forever for us to get to like the final act.
I feel like generally the pace and everything in this film was fine. It's just like once they get into like the medieval times or whatever, that's when things come to a grinding halt. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're just doing this for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Like, this movie is at its most fun when they're like switching to different worlds and, you know, getting the deal. But once you stay in the world for too long, you're like, I really genuinely like that end fight where they're like quickly going between worlds and they're changing costumes while they're sword fighting.
Yeah, I thought that shit was really cool.
Yeah, I really liked that. But they just don't do that enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially when they're in the medieval world for a very long time. And so yeah, this movie, it's confusing. It's its own worst enemy, but there is some cool stuff in here. Not a ton though.
But guys, what did Dylan think of this one?
Alright, so this is going to be my review of Waxwork 2 Lost in Time. So, I had some pretty high expectations for this movie. The first one was surprisingly well made, surprisingly pleasant, especially for a movie of its time. However, this movie fell short in so many ways. It was super boring to watch. The effects in it just seemed so much worse than in the first one, and it was just like the plot moved so slowly. It was just, the plot was hardly anything at all. And if anything, it was just kind of being repetitive, where it was always the same, like, in its own story, repeating itself. And, you know, the acting was, it was kind of whatever. We had some weird, I guess, it's kind of like a subplot, but was also kind of the main focus, where, like, the one girl is, like, has, like, some court cases, so they're trying to find proof that she's not crazy or something. I don't know if you want to describe that as a subplot or whatever, but I don't know. This movie was kind of whatever. Some of the jokes it was trying to land didn't land very well. This movie also did the thing where it liked to reference a lot of other things. This movie was kind of one just big whatever for me personally. Yeah, I really didn't like any aspect of this movie, and just tons of things in this movie were just outright bad. It's actually insane how far down this movie can go compared to its predecessor, but we've also seen Planet of the Apes and its sequel. But anyway, without further ado, I gave Waxwork 2 Lost in Time an F.
Man, he fucking hated it. He despised this movie. Holy shit.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know, do we have any further thoughts on this one at all?
I think some of the comedy was funny. They're definitely trying more, I think, in this one movie to, like, be, you know, just outright funny. I could be wrong about that. Maybe they were trying to be outright funny in the first one. Like, the fucking people moving around as wax figures was supposed to be funny. But yeah, they were trying for some comedy stuff. I think it worked, like, half the time. A lot of it was just kind of stupid. The weird thing with this movie, too, is how the fuck did they get such a high budget for it? I don't actually know if the budget was higher. I'm just assuming because, you know, I watched the movie and it looks like they put like 10 times more effort into this one than they did in the first one, which doesn't make any sense because the first one bombed. It made like, it literally made like negative money. So I don't know what the fuck they were doing with the second one. Very strange. Honestly, I feel like the alien segment bit they did just like destroyed the budget, and that's why the it just like comes to a grinding halt with the I guess the adventureness, playfulness maybe of the plot.
Budget for Waxwork 2 is estimated to be $3.5 million.
That's honestly lower than I was expecting it to be.
To be fair, these came out in like the 90s. And then the original Waxwork had a budget of $3 million. So it got slightly more money.
That extra mil went pretty far, it sounds like.
Also, dude, I just saw that on October 10th, the director of these films, Anthony Hickox, died. So,
oh, R.I.P.
to a real one.
Yeah.
Did he direct this one, actually? Yeah, he directed both. And he wrote both.
Fantastic. Welp, Dylan's rating for this film was an F, guys. He did not like this film at all.
F? That seems a bit harsh, to be honest.
Yeah. What are you giving it, Tanner?
I'm giving it a C+.
Oh, okay. Jackson, what about you?
I gave it a D-. I did not particularly like this one. I think some of the comedy worked, but a lot of it was just pretty fucking boring and stupid and not very funny. I think even just like the general idea of what they were going for with the plot was pretty stupid as a concept.
I'm not nearly as harsh as you, dude. I'm giving it a D+.
Whoa.
And that lands it at a D overall.
Wow.
Fair enough.
How the mighty have fallen, as they say.
Yeah, what was the first one's rating overall? Wasn't it like an A or some shit?
Hold on, I'm checking.
It's A-.
No, I think it was
A-.
in the B. Oh, it was an A-? That's crazy.
That's a pretty radical drop. Bummer.
It won't be the most radical original sequel drop we'll see, though.
Yeah? Do you have one in mind, Tanner? You have one in mind you want to share with us? Are you picking a new movie that'll be a radical drop for us?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying eventually we'll get to something like that.
Okay. What movie are you picking for next week?
So my pick, my final spooky month pick is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, okay.
Actually, this might be a drop-off. I legitimately have no idea if this movie is well-regarded or not, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I remember seeing reviews for it back in the day. I can't say I really remember what the general consensus was, though.
So we'll fucking see, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. As for my pick, fucking... I do feel bad because I feel like we're not getting, like, any classic horror movies in here whatsoever for this year. But at the same time, I don't want to fucking pick anything like that.
Why don't you flip a coin or something to see if you do?
Yeah, you know what? I'll do that. Let's find out. Flip a coin. Alright. Heads for, I guess, classic horror movies. Tails for we're running tail away from classic horror movies. We got tails, so boo-hoo. Go cry about it, horror fans. I'm sorry. The luck was not on your side this day. And as a result, we are going to be checking out... Oh, this is going to be a fun one. The 2022 Speak No Evil.
Oh, okay. This was made by some fucking YouTubers.
I think you're thinking of something else.
Yeah, he's thinking of Iron Lung.
No? I'm pretty sure it was made by these, like, Australian YouTubers.
No, this is like a fucking Finnish film or some shit. I think you're thinking of, what was it? It's like...
Oh, Skinamarink?
No, it was like Don't Look or something along those lines. I definitely recall which one you're thinking of.
It's the one with the fucking hand.
Oh, yeah. That's not this one. I don't remember what that one's called.
Talk to me.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Dude, I have that one on my list. I know nothing about it now. Except for there's a fucking hand, you son of a bitch, you spoiled it all for me.
I think the hand is on the poster, so...
Blasted. I've never seen the poster before. I don't even know why the fuck it's on my list, to be honest. Anyways. Yeah, we got the Patreon pick this week, and that is going to be... Drum rolling. Into the Forest of Fireflies Light, the 2011 film, as requested by Lava Skin. Thank you for the request. I feel like that one got requested really fucking recently. How the fuck did that get picked?
I saw Fireflies, and I thought it was going to be Grave of the Fireflies.
That would have... I wish we got that one. I don't know why the fuck this one got picked.
Can we substitute it?
Yeah, this one got picked in August. This has not been in there for long at all. No.
Damn.
This is just how the cookie crumbles, as they say.
Oh, well, say la vie. Jackson, would you like to tell the people more about how the cookie crumbles?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I love doing that all the time as I try to find where the fuck that is per usual. Yeah, for $1 a month on Patreon, patreon.com/Guapish or guapish.com/Patreon, whichever you prefer, you can get early access to our episodes sometimes. You get access to our pre-show, the pre-Guap. You get access to our Discord, which also lets you talk to us. You can request topics and request movies once a month like Lavaskin did. You also get access to our slime spot and 500 free slime coins. And last but not least, of course, you get your name read out. And somebody is eventually going to give me the list of names to read out. Here we go. And for this month, we've got GH, Slayed by J, Blake, Nedigant, Dumb Gay Retard, Top Ramen Man, Crazy Taxi, yeah, Tutbot, Lucas Ledette, Hunter, and Jacob Edwards. Thank you all for subscribing.
That's right. Thank you very much, everybody. And as always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.